Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Links are in the description below. Please show some love to the author and me. On to the show. What's the matter? Why did my troop attribute suddenly increase so much? Me too. It's improved by a full 30%. Exclamations kept coming from Ji Yunchuang's teammates. All of them looked at the attributes of their own units in shock. Even Ji Yunchuang was like this, and her beautiful eyes were full of brilliance. It's not that she hasn't seen group gain skills, but she has never seen such an exaggerated group gain. Directly increase the attribute by 30%, which is definitely a magical skill to reverse the situation on the battlefield. How dare you think too much? Taking advantage of the duration of the state, immediately let those angels who have recovered fly outside to meet the 7th Order lords who rushed over. And several teammates next to her also ordered their respective arms to rush out of the vine forest. Okay? Those 7th Order lords who approached soon found out that something was wrong, and made a surprise. But more, still disdain. The troops of the mere 6th rank lords also want to compete with them? Do you really think that you can beat the 8th tier troops around them with their numbers? With a sneer, he immediately issued an order to his troops. Under the leadership of a few 8th Orders, they directly met Lin You and their troops. In a twinkling of an eye, the attacks flew around, and the disdain on their faces became even more prosperous. However, in the next second, their smiles suddenly solidified. Because they found that several 8th Order arms of their own were actually losing ground, completely unable to withstand the impact of the opponent. Puff. Suddenly, the sound of flesh being penetrated sounded. One of the 8th Order Cerberus at the forefront was pierced by a giant vine and died instantly on the spot. Just one hit. It instantly killed an 8th Order unit. How can it be? The Demon Lord's face changed wildly, and he couldn't understand why his 8th tier troops were instantly killed by the opponent's 7th tier troops. Even the other 8th Order arms are surrounded by more and more flowers of death emerging. If one flower of death dies, another flower of death will fill it up, and the killing will not finish. After a while, their tier 8 units were severely injured. Withdraw. Quickly withdraw. The 7th Order lords shouted in shock, and they wanted to retreat with their own troops. But at this moment, a loud bang suddenly came from behind them. Huge vines rose into the sky, completely blocking their way, and together with their feet, the ground swelled, and countless vines emerged. It was a way for Qing Ivy to deliberately hide it, narrowing down his own vine forest in advance. Not good. We've been tricked. At this moment, the 7th Order lords didn't know that they were in the game, and they all fled to the periphery of the forest with their respective arms. But how could Lin You let them escape so easily? Take advantage of the last 10 seconds of the savage roar. Immediately order all the dead flowers and plant troops to surround them. In the sky, there were even mushroom legions and angel troops attacking them. Boom boom dash. What? A violent explosion, accompanied by a few shrill screams, echoed in the vine forest. At the same time, a prompt sounded in Lin Yu's minds. Kill the 7th Order Lord of the Alien Plane, get 220,000 mana, 100 honor points, and the 7th Order Territory Essence X1. Kill the 7th Order Lord of the Alien Plane, get 130,000 mana, 100 honor points, and the 7th Order Territory Essence X1. Great! I killed a 7th Order. Me too. Got ahead. Ji Yunchuang's 2 teammates blushed with excitement, but they didn't expect to kill the 7th Order Lord. Ji Yunchuang, who was beside Lin You, also had a happy face, and it seemed that he had also grabbed the head. And Lin You had the most kills, killing 2 in full, and gaining 2 tier 7 territorial essences, plus the previous ones. There were a total of 6. But it is also this time. The effect of Savage Roar disappeared, and the attributes of the troops returned to their original levels. Let's retreat first, we are too swaggering now. Lin You made a decisive decision, and immediately returned to the primitive realm team with his troops. After some inspection, I found that Qingting's vines were blown up a lot by the battle just now. Fortunately, it has an exclusive skill blessing. and the recovery speed is extremely fast, but it is not a big problem. And at this time Qingting, under the gain of frenzy, has already surpassed the general 8th order attribute, and this injury is not painful to it. That's all. After stealing a few 7th order heads, Lin You and Ji Yunchuang did not appear again. Instead, they brought their respective arms and trimmed them on the edge of the battlefield while resisting attacks from the front. More and more lords came to hear the news and joined the battle. There was a frenzy over the entire neutral zone. After more than an hour passed, the sun gradually went down. There was finally a click on the battlefield, and cracks appeared. The lords who had already gone crazy suddenly came back to their senses and stopped one after another. Seeing that the space is about to collapse, how dare they stay there, they all scattered and fled to their respective boundaries. A battle between the two worlds has completely ended here. In general, both sides have losses, and no one can do anything to gain the other. Even if Lin You and the others killed a few tier 7s, they still couldn't change the whole battle situation much. After all, there were too many people here this time. Let's go, we should go back, this time the harvest is not bad. Lin You glanced at his magic energy, and it rose to more than 1 million, just enough to hire people to speed up the construction of the territory. It is estimated that after a few more battles like this, he will be able to collect enough territorial essence to upgrade the 8th tier arms. What are you going to do when you go back? After Ji Yunchuang finished counting his gains, he looked at him. Of course, go back and continue to build the territory. It's not like you don't know about my territory. Why did you suddenly ask this? Lin Yu wondered. It's nothing, I just think that if there is such a battle in the future, we can work together again. After today's battle, Ji Yunchuang found out that his angel armies were really well suited to Lin Yu's plant armies. Plants are afraid of fire, she can help disperse them. The number of angels is short, and Lin Yu's plants can just make up for it. Moreover, both of their arms have healing abilities. When they are added together, their survivability is absolutely useless. Lin Yu naturally discovered this, thought for a while, then nodded and agreed, okay, let's work together in the future. It's a word. After speaking, they each mounted their own troops and rushed back towards the main city. The other lords on the side were also scattered, and they all left the neutral zone before long. Soon, Lin Yu returned to the territory. Glancing at the sun that was gradually setting in the west, he opened the territory interface and converted 500,000 magic energy into magic crystals and stored them in the Yellow Sand City backup fund. Then recruit Shuechanggue and ask him to recruit more people to establish a territory. Done with this, he just came to the willow tree that he recruited a few days ago, intending to try to see the effect of its mutation. The mutation of the 6th order summoning unit needs to consume 250 mana. Do you want to continue? A familiar reminder sounded in Lin Yu's mind. Lin Yu looked at the willow swaying in the wind in front of him, and directly chose to confirm. In an instant, the willow was wrapped in a piece of light, the wicker on the branches began to shrink rapidly, and the branches gradually changed. After about 7 or 8 seconds, a willow tree more than 10 meters high turned into morning glory covered with rhizomes and leaves, constantly extending outwards. Name, Echo Flower. Race, Plant. Level 6, upgrade with the territory. Strength? Constitution? Agile? Spirit? Skills, Strange Change, Phonophonic. Echo flowers can transmit sounds to each other. The farther the distance is, the more power of nature is consumed. Soundwave. Sound waves are emitted, destroying all surrounding enemies. Introduction. First hear its sound, then see its flower, a plant that has a strong control over sound. It was as Lin Yu expected. After the willow mutated, it mutated directly into a new army that he had never seen before. And to his surprise, this willow is actually the same as the ancient tree of knowledge, and the mutated troops will inherit its upgrade conditions. The ancient tree of knowledge cannot be upgraded, and the willow's territorial improvement seems to be impossible to change with mutation ability. But that's hardly bad news. Because the level of the troops increases with the territory, there is no need to accumulate experience points, what level the territory is, what level it will be, and maybe it will be of great use in the future. And the skills of this new unit are also very peculiar. It seems a bit like a mobile phone? With curiosity, Lin You tried it out, and he could actually transmit sound. It doesn't even work a few hundred meters away. When the positions of the arms are abundant, you can leave a few for communication. The same is true for the sonic skill, which is considered a more practical skill. However, the current level is only 6th order, which is not very helpful to him, so he can only repatriate it temporarily. Then, he summoned another willow tree and continued to mutate. Swish! Light flashed, and a cotton tree that could produce cotton appeared in front of him. The same is to inherit the level-up conditions, and the strange skills. Lin You was very puzzled. He didn't inherit the soul incarnation skill after 2 consecutive mutations. Could it be that this skill is so incompatible with other arms? With this idea in mind, he re-recruited Willow for several mutations. The result is still the same, they all inherit the staggering skills, and there are also many types of arms he has seen. Obviously, the skill of soul incarnation has very high requirements for troops. Only plants that have a certain affinity for soul power like the willow tree can control it. Sure enough, rare weapons are different. Lin You had no choice but to give up the plan to continue the mutation, recruited another willow tree, and then went to several planting troops in the territory. It stands to reason that after such a long time, these arms should have been promoted to the 7th rank. As a result, all of them are still in the 6th rank, and there is no meaning to advance. It really puzzled him. Just click on the information of one of the planted arms and take a look. Name, Popping Pumpkin. Race, Plant. Level, Level 6, Full. Strength, 50. Physique, 200. Agility, 250. Spirit, 250. Skills, Protection of Plants, Burst, Sowing. Introduction, a peculiar watermelon, the spit-out seeds have an effect that ordinary watermelons do not have. Level full? Lin You paused. No wonder he said why these arms have not been upgraded, it turned out to be full level. It's no wonder that it's too outrageous to be able to rise to the 9th and 10th tiers for such an army with little combat effectiveness. You can't use watermelons to hit people, right? He really couldn't think of that kind of picture, and he didn't bother to study it any longer. After simply eating something and watching the chat channel for a while, he went to rest in the treehouse. The following few days, Lin You spends his time traveling between the territory and the main city, rushing around in order to collect the essence of the territory. The neutral area did not disappoint him either. Basically every 3 or 5 days, a battle will take place, attracting many lords to gather there. Every time there is a battle, he will take the lead in rushing over, looking for an opportunity to sneak up on the 7th order lord on the opposite side. Or cooperate with Ji Yunshuang to assist Qingting. Although the people on the side of Yuansha realm have gradually taken precautions against his arms, he took this opportunity and finally collected 10 7th order territorial essences after half a month. Call. Finally enough. Lin You looked at the territorial essence in his personal space and let out a long sigh. After so many days of fighting, he can finally bid farewell to this battlefield temporarily, and no longer need to run around. Next, only Qingting's experience points are left. As long as its experience reaches the full value, it can immediately rise to the 8th rank, and its strength will be greatly improved, and it will not be in vain for his efforts during this period of time. The battle is over, let's get out of here first. At this time, Ji Yunshuang's voice came from the side. After this period of cooperation, she and Lin You have become more acquainted with each other than before, and have gradually become friends. Lin You glanced at her, nodded and said, "Well, go back to the main city first, the essence of my territory is enough, and I don't need to come here for the time being." "Is it enough so soon?" Ji Yunshuang asked in surprise. "It's not that fast, it took nearly a month before and after." "That's right, it's really been a long time, then we have the opportunity to cooperate again in the future?" Ji Yunshuang hesitated. Of course. Lin You smiled slightly. He cooperated with Ji Yunchuang very well, and he was able to kill the Seventh Order Lord several times by relying on the buffs of the angels. Otherwise, he would not have collected enough territorial essence so quickly. Ji Yunchuang also showed a hint of joy when she heard his answer. Then, they left the neutral zone with the other lords and flew back towards the main city. However, what Lin You didn't expect was that just as he separated from Ji Yunchuang and came to the vicinity of the teleportation square, a figure suddenly appeared and blocked his way. 3 princes? Lin You looked at the person unexpectedly. Isn't it Qin Li, the 3rd prince of the Vault of Heaven Empire? Yes, it's me, but I've been waiting here for you for a long time. With a smile on his face, Qin Li came to Lin You with several attendants. Now Lin You was even more puzzled, and asked, the 3rd prince is waiting for me here, is there something important? Can make Qin Li wait here, especially, you don't need to think about it to know that things are not easy. As predicted. Qin Li first looked around, and then whispered in his ear, there is a secret mission. After completing it, you can get 10 7th Order territorial essences and 100,000 honor points. I wonder if you are interested? What did you say? Lin Yu's pupil shrank suddenly and looked at Qin Li. However, Qin Li made a silent gesture to him. There are a lot of people here, so go to my BUN first. It is good. Lin Yu nodded heavily. 10 7th Order territorial essences, plus 100,000 honor points, such a huge temptation, he thinks he can't resist. So soon, he followed Qin Li to the horse, and with a burst of shouts from the coachman, he walked away. It was more than half an hour when Lin Yu came to Qin Li's quiet courtyard. As soon as he entered the yard, Lin Yu couldn't wait to ask, what is the mission, and the reward is so generous. Don't be impatient. Qin Li stretched out his hand and motioned for Lin Yu to sit down, then lifted the teapot and said while pouring tea, to tell you the truth, this is a secret mission that my father personally sent to us, the princes and princesses. The emperor personally issued it? Lin Yu was shocked. Yes, or a test for us. Since it's a test between your princes, it shouldn't have much to do with me, right? Lin Yu frowned gradually. From his point of view, he is reluctant to get involved in this kind of thing. Qin Li seemed to have guessed that he would say this, and smiled slightly. Actually, it can't be said that it has nothing to do with you at all. Oh? How to say? Lin Yu was aroused curiosity. This task is very simple, that is, we need each of our princes and princesses to send someone to lurk into the checkpoint of the original Shajia, and to teleport and locate their checkpoint. Is it preparing for the war between the 2 worlds in a month? You know this too? This time, it was Qin Li's turn to be surprised. He didn't expect that Lin Yu would even know that the primordial realm was going to go to war with the primordial Sha realm. After all, this news is only known to a small number of people in power. Of course I have my own way. Lin Yu didn't reveal how he knew the news, and said lightly. Qin Li took a deep look at him and did not ask any further questions, but continued to explain. Since you already know, then I won't say more nonsense. Although this mission is simple to say, it is not an easy task to lurk into the checkpoint of the original Shajia, and the higher the level, the more difficult it will be. It is easy to be found, so I thought of asking you for help. After speaking, he looked at Lin Yu again. As the 3rd prince of the Vault of Heaven Empire, he knows the news in the main city well, and he has long heard of Lin Yu's recent active performance in the neutral zone. With a mere 6th rank, he can smash the opponent's 7th rank, and even kill the opponent. Even if such a terrifying record is placed on the entire primitive continent, it is a rare existence, and there are basically few people who can do it. This is also the reason why he finds Lin Yu. After all, the more low-level people pass this task, the less likely it will be discovered, and the greater the success rate. Therefore, it is natural to choose the strongest person among them. Of course Lin Yu knew this. But to be cautious, he continued to ask, then do you have any way to sneak into the checkpoint? You should know that in different realms, you can clearly feel the breath of the other party. This is easy to handle, I have prepared something that can hide the breath. With that said, Li took out a simple-looking cloak with hidden strange lines and placed it on the stone table. Hidden cloak, hide your own breath, making it impossible for people to detect. This cloak can cover up the aura of you and your troops. Even an 8th Order Lord can't easily see through it. Of course, if the distance is too close, it won't work, so you just need to be careful not to get too close to the 8th Order Lord or above. 8th Order. Lin Yu's face was solemn. Although the number of lords above the 8th rank is not as high as that of the 6th or 7th rank, it is still very dangerous if they are discovered. However, considering that he now has body armor, plus teleportation crystals and substitute scarecrows, as long as he is careful, there is still a high chance of completing this task. After all, like the checkpoint on their side, it is only garrisoned by an 8th Order soldier. Even if other 8th Orders pass by occasionally, will they still keep staring at him? As long as he can complete this task, he can obtain a resource to upgrade the 8th Order arms, and the strength improvement is not just 1 or 2 points. Thinking of this, he said, "Okay, I'll take over this task." "Are you sure?" Li looked happy. "Sure, but you'll have to give me the details of their checkpoint over there." "That's natural. Even if you don't say it, I will prepare it for you in advance. After all, this task is related to the test of my father and Emperor. Then we are happy to work together." "Happy cooperation." The two smiled at each other. That's all. Lin You successfully took over the task of lurking the original Shajia checkpoint. Then he was in the yard, listening to Li's subordinates telling him all kinds of information about the original Shajia checkpoint. It was not until the afternoon that he left the yard, hurried back to the territory, and began to prepare for the next action. Early the next morning, Lin You woke up before the sky was up. After simply washing up and eating something, he teleported into the main city with the cloak of concealment. No way, according to what Li said, in addition to him, the eldest prince and the second princess also took the task. If he acts too slowly, I am afraid that the task reward will not be his turn. And once the other 2 people are discovered by Yuansha realm, the guard at the checkpoint will definitely become more strict, which is not good for his actions. Even, he specially enchanted his shoes with a 6th Order haste to increase his movement speed. Along with the other equipment on his body, they are also enchanted with various protections, which is better than nothing. In this way, while traveling all the way, he soon came to the outside of the city, then ride on the Demon King Dragon and fly to the direction of Yuansha realm. Fortunately, it's still morning, and not many lords have gone out yet, so don't worry about attracting the attention of others. After passing through the Primordial Realm checkpoint, and near the neutral zone where the 2 realms meet, he took out the cloak of concealment and put it on his body. Next, it is the realm of the original evil world, and you have to be careful. After thinking about it, let the Demon King Dragon fly high in the sky, away from the detection on the ground. Then it just swept across the neutral zone and entered the Yuansha realm. What surprised Lin You was that as soon as entered the realm of Yuansha, he could feel a sense of rejection coming from all directions, as if he was going to be expelled. Although this feeling is not strong, but it has always existed, making him extremely unhappy. But for the task reward, he could only endure it. And as he gradually deepened, the figure of the Lord of the original Shajia began to appear below, and there were even flying troops that passed by him from a distance. Fortunately, the distance was relatively far and was not discovered by the other party. "Quick, land in the woods first." Lin You didn't dare to be careless, and immediately let the Demon King Dragon land in the next hidden forest, and began to approach the checkpoint by walking. Although the cloak of concealment could hide the aura of his troops, but for the sake of safety, he still recalled the Demon King Dragon to the territory, leaving only the smaller Lingxi beside him to hide his eyes and ears. Otherwise, there is not even a single unit around, it looks too suspicious. "Have you heard? The primitive continent has begun to clamor in the neutral area again." "Huh? It's the kind of realm that is deprived of luck and is worthy of calling us? Haha, isn't it, that we beat on the battlefield of Wanjia last time? I still don't have a long memory." Let's go over to see the excitement, and kill a few by the way to give them some color. Arrogant words kept coming from the side. Lin You took Lingxi and walked silently on the plain. The lords of the original Shajia were all in a hurry, chatting while rushing to the neutral zone, leaving behind one after another on the plain. Here, it is already a position very deep into the original evil world. From a distance, you can see a huge checkpoint, standing on the edge of the entrance to the plain. As the sun gradually rose, a steady stream of lords swept out from the checkpoints, each with various types of troops beside them. Above the city wall, there are many soldiers patrolling back and forth, staring at every move around. To be honest, Lin You was still a little nervous. I didn't expect that I would really come to such a deep place in Yuansha realm. Once discovered, he will face the siege of a large number of lords of the original Sha world, as well as the pursuit of high-level lords. It is not easy to escape. But in order not to be found out, he can't show any guilty conscience, and try to make himself seem calm enough. In this way, while listening to the talk of the lord of the original Shajia, I walked across the plain. Soon, Lin You came outside the checkpoint. Looking at the entrance of the checkpoint where people came and going, he took a deep breath and walked in slowly. Fortunately, the guards at the checkpoints generally do not check the passing lords, but only glance at them when passing through the entrance. Although he was sweating during the process, Lin You managed to sneak into the checkpoint very smoothly, and his field of vision became wider. It is different from the checkpoint in the primitive world. The checkpoint of the original Shajia is obviously much wider. Looking around, almost all the gathered lords, and a group of imperial soldiers who were patrolling, looked like they were full of people. On the edge of the playground in the distance, a magnificent building is located there, which should be the place where the 8th Order Lord stationed at the checkpoint stayed, and Lin Yu's task is precisely to place the teleported positioning crystal in that building, because there is the cornerstone of the entire checkpoint, and it can only be accurately positioned if it is placed in the building. Otherwise, you can only secretly dig a channel to locate it like the original Shajia before. But the question is, how can he hide from the 8th Order Lord inside and complete this task? After all, the 8th Order Lord is not something that a small character like him can handle. Once found, he only had the chance to escape. It seems that we can only wait for him to leave and find another chance. Lin You thought silently in his heart. Then he came to the corner, pretending to be waiting for someone, while secretly observing the surrounding movements, looking for opportunities to start. That's all. Time passed by minute. Until near noon, when the sun rose above the head, the 8th Order Lord inside did not appear. And the lords in the checkpoint also changed batch after batch. During this period, Lin You even saw an 8th Order pass by in shock, but he was startled and gradually became anxious. Could it be that the 8th Order Lord is not there? Lin Yu's face was extremely solemn. The longer he stays in this place, the greater the risk of being discovered, and he must act as soon as possible, otherwise he will be suspected sooner or later. Was thinking. Suddenly I saw a figure, slowly approaching the building. Although the other party was already trying his best to cover it up, Lin You, who was observant, still found clues and noticed the other party's slightly tense body. Could it be a peer? Lin You was slightly startled, and moved his position as if nothing had happened, his eyes fixed on the figure. It was exactly as he expected. I saw that the other party hesitated outside the building for a while, then silently glanced around, and then slowly walked into the building. The suspicious deeds, at a glance, know that there is no purpose. Who else but peers? No. Absolutely can't let him take the lead. Lin Yu's face sank, and he wanted to keep up. However, in the next second, there was a sudden explosion from the building. The spies of the primitive world. How dare you go wild on my territory? Come on. In an instant, a tyrannical power erupted in the building, accompanied by bursts of tiger roars. This sudden change suddenly shocked the lords outside the checkpoint to look. What happened? That's the voice of the captain. It seems that someone from the primitive world sneaked into the checkpoint. What? How dare people from the primitive world come to our territory to spread wildness? Brothers, copy the guy. Don't let the people from the primitive world run away. In an instant, the entire checkpoint was in chaos, and all the lords rushed towards the building with their respective arms. Just at this moment, a figure fleeing in a hurry appeared at the door of the building, clutching his chest while summoning a mount, and leaping to the city wall on the side. It was the person Lin You saw just now. Discover the spy of the primitive world. Everyone, stop him. Sure enough, he is from the primitive world, don't let him run away. He ran over there, hurry up. When the lord of the Yuansha realm saw the people in the primitive realm, it was like a cat seeing a mouse. Everyone shouted and chased after him frantically. At the same time, a majestic figure rushed out of the building, followed by a few 8th Order white tigers, chasing out the checkpoint. Good chance. A gleam of light flashed in Lin Yu's eyes. While everyone was chasing and killing that person, he immediately slipped into the building while he was in chaos, just glanced around, and saw a statue with a halo, which should be the cornerstone of the checkpoint. Lin You took a look. This cornerstone has a durability of 100,000, and it is impossible to destroy it in a short time. And his purpose this time is not to destroy the cornerstone, but to teleport and locate. Taking a deep breath, he took out the teleportation crystal from his personal space, observed it carefully around the statue, and prepared to find a suitable location to hide. But at this moment, he suddenly had a warning in his heart, and felt a death threat attacking him from behind. Boom! With a muffled sound, Lin You didn't even have time to react. He was hit the waist, and the whole person was blasted out and hit the wall. The severe pain spread to his whole body along the waist and abdomen, and even broke a few bones. If it wasn't for the body armor, he would probably be instantly killed by this blow. Through the corner of the eye he also saw something attacking him. It is a poor and strange beast where reality and reality intersect. 8th grade. There is actually another 8th Order here. Lin You was horrified and inexplicable. Looking at the corner, a man with a cold face appeared out of nowhere, slowly revealing his figure in the air. Not bad, you can actually block the 8th Order Phantom Beast without dying. You are the most powerful one of the 6th Order I have ever seen. The man recalled the poor and strange beast to his side, and stared at Lin You with a calm expression, as if he was the master of the high above. Lin You got up with difficulty, and stepped aside under Ling Xi's treatment. He didn't think of anything. There are actually 2 8th Order guards here, and it is still this kind of phantom beast arms with strange attack methods. Without any hesitation, turn around and run away. You still want to run away when you meet me? Your courage is commendable. Seeing that Lin You didn't even want to run away, the Phantom Beast Lord suddenly sneered, and one after another, the powerful 8th Order poor fantasy beasts appeared and rushed towards Lin You. At this moment, Lin You, who was running away, felt something. His face suddenly changed, and he suddenly turned around and flashed to the side. The next second, an illusory giant claw appeared, as if tearing space, and slid past his chest. Boom! The ground exploded and turned into a large piece of rubble, and Lin You, who was close at hand, was also pushed several meters away by the aftermath of this strong shock, and it was difficult for him to stabilize his body. When he raised his head again, a large group of hidden 8th Order phantom beasts had already revealed their bodies, blocking all his escape routes. Lin Yu's expression darkened. No wonder he didn't get in the way when he first came in. It turned out that there was something else lurking here. It's a good trick to invite you to enter the urn. How dare he hesitate, and directly summon a large number of plants around him. In an instant, vines spread all over the interior of the building, and with a savage roar from Qinggang, they rushed towards the surrounding eudemons. Humph, eagle-eyed trick, take him down. Hearing a loud shout from the Phantom Beast Lord, those poor phantom beasts jumped high and rushed towards Lin Yu's plants. Tear! The vines were easily torn apart, and could not stop the ferocious offensive of the 8th tier troops. One by one, they flew up, and in a blink of an eye, several plants were torn apart by sharp claws and fell to the ground. Seeing a few eudemons rush through the gap and approach, Ling Xi, who was guarding Lin Yu's side, immediately waved his staff, temporarily entangled them with thorns, and the thorns suddenly rushed out. At the same time, mushrooms were thrown all around. Boom boom boom. A series of violent explosions shook the entire building. Covered by the smoke, Lin You immediately took the plants to the blasted gap and ran outside. You can't escape. The Eudemon's lord shouted, and the Eudemons beside him disappeared directly on the spot. Whoosh whoosh. The sound of breaking the air sounded, and streams of light shuttled between the plants, and wherever they went, the plants fell in pieces. Even under the blessing of the savage roar, there is no way to resist their offensive, and Lin You lost dozens of troops in a blink of an eye. Even the charming kiss of the charming banshee and the crowd control of the variety poisonous mushroom can't stop them. No. Can't drag it any longer. Looking at the fewer and fewer plant troops around him, Lin Yu's expression sank, and he summoned Qingting directly. Boom. Hearing a loud bang, countless giant vines suddenly appeared crazily, like octopus, spreading rapidly in all directions. That huge body suddenly changed the expression of the phantom beast lord, and stormed out with his troops. In a blink of an eye, the vines rushed out of the building, completely squeezing the entire building, collapsing into a large piece of ruins. The spectacular scene immediately attracted the lords who stayed in the checkpoint to look at them one after another. What's the matter? What happened? What is that? How come there are so many plants suddenly? A lot of vines. Is there a monster sneaking into the checkpoint? No. It's not a monster. It seems that someone is fighting. Before they could react, they saw a figure suddenly rushing out of the tumbling smoke, riding a huge plant dragon and flying high into the sky. The plants in the ruins also disappeared in an instant, leaving only a broken wall. Damn. Chase me. The Eudemon's lord's face was ashen. He didn't expect a Sixth Order lord to have so many means. If he escaped, wouldn't he become the laughingstock of others in the future? Absolutely not. The Eudemon's lord felt ruthless in his heart. When Lin You was just taking off, a terrifying energy quickly condensed in the mouths of the troops beside him, and shot a straight beam into the air. Lin You, who was sitting on the back of the Demon King Dragon, didn't even react, and was pierced by a beam of light through his chest. He was blasted out like a sandbag and fell into the forest outside the checkpoint. Together with the Demon King Dragon under him, it also turned into a little starlight and disappeared. Want to escape after falling into my hands? Go, bring his body back to me. The Eudemon's lord snorted coldly and said to the Imperial soldiers who had just arrived. When the soldiers received the order, they immediately left the checkpoint and hurried to the direction where Lin You landed, leaving behind a lot of discussion. Yet no one knew. At this time, in the forest outside the checkpoint, Lin You, who should have been dead, suddenly got up from the ground. Even the wound on his chest disappeared, and he couldn't tell that he had been injured at all. That's right. Just now, the substitute scarecrow he carried with him blocked the fatal blow for him, so that he could escape unscathed. At the same time, he felt extremely happy. If it wasn't for his foresight, I'm afraid it would really be here today. The strength of the Eighth Order Lord is really terrifying. But the other party will never think of it. During the melee just now, he had secretly asked Qingting to bury the teleportation crystal deep underground and cover it with ruins. In this way, his task is considered complete. Don't dare to stay any longer, take out the teleportation crystal directly from the personal space. The area you are currently in does not belong to the primordial realm, and the preparation time for teleportation is doubled. Would you like to continue? Huh? Double time? Lin You paused for a moment, and there was a hint of surprise in his eyes. Double the prep time, which is 10 seconds. Fortunately, he didn't think about using this to escape just now. After all, in the situation just now, let alone 10 seconds, even 5 seconds, he couldn't take it out. Moreover, the teleportation crystal cannot be moved when it is in use, otherwise it will cause the space instability to fail. Without hesitation, he chose to use it directly, and then a dazzling white light burst out from the crystal in his hand. Quick, it's just ahead. Just at this moment, a few shouts suddenly came from a distance. It should be the chasing soldiers from the Yuansha realm. But unfortunately, before they could arrive, Lin You teleported away one step ahead of them and disappeared in place. Swish! Light flashed. When Lin You returned to God again, he had already appeared on the teleportation square in the main city of Angel Wings. Looking at the familiar scene around him, his tense body finally relaxed completely, and he let out a breath of foul breath. This mission can be described as dangerous and unusual. A little carelessness could cost your life. If it wasn't for another person to help him attract firepower, he probably wouldn't be able to finish it. It seems that I will have to be more careful in the future. After thinking about it, he left the square and hurried to Qin Li's Bun. Good luck. When he got there, Qin Li was in the yard listening to the report from his subordinates. Seeing him appear, he immediately stood up from his seat. Lin You? You came back from the Yuansha realm. Yeah, fortunately not humiliated. Lin You smiled slightly. So, you managed to put the positioning crystal in? Hearing his answer, Qin Li was surprised at first, then immediately overjoyed. Ha ha ha, good. I thought I would be ahead of my brother and sister, but I didn't expect you to finish it in the end. I really didn't read the wrong person. Thank you so much this time. You don't need to say so many polite words. Just don't forget to give me what you promised me. I almost lost my life this time. Lin You gave Qin Li a deep look. That's natural. I'll go back to the Emperor right now, and after the matter is confirmed, I'll send someone to bring it to you. Okay, then I'll go back first. Lin You didn't talk to Qin Li much, and left Bun directly. In order to complete the mission this time, he lost a lot of troops. Although they are only proliferating troops, it will take a long time to recover. If you're enjoying my content, please consider donating a coffee. Or checking out my shirts on TeePublic. Time flies like water. In the blink of an eye, there is only half a month left before the opening of the Wanjia battlefield. Since Lin You got 10 Tier 7 territorial essences and 100,000 honor points from Qin Li, he has never participated in any battles, nor has he wandered around in the main city. Instead, he has been staying in the territory to cultivate his health and develop the territory. Use the magic energy you just earned to gather craftsmen to build city walls, dig new canals, and recruit people along the way. And Huangsha City, from the original small town, expanded into a small and medium-sized city, and the population finally successfully exceeded the 10,000 mark. Including the dwarves, the population is nearly 13,000, and it is still increasing every day. Many people have taken a fancy to the rapid development speed of Huangsha City and the trade with the Fire Country, and they have migrated to Huangsha City to settle down. There are countless businessmen and practitioners passing by, attracted by the unique resource conditions of Huangsha City. The entire Huangsha City has become the largest city within the borders of the Great Wilderness Country. This is also thanks to Lin Yu's accumulation of a lot of resources, that Huangsha City has changed so much in just a few months. If it was another lord, even if he wanted to, he couldn't do it. After all, they still need to spend a lot of magic energy to recruit troops again to make up for the usual battle losses. But Lin You is different. He has infinite proliferation skills, and the losses are basically proliferation troops, and there is no need to spend magic energy to recruit additionally. Invisibly, he has a lot more resources to develop the territory than other lords, which is also one of his advantages. This is not. Today happened to be the day when the new city of Huangsha City was about to be completed. Lin You came to Huangsha City early in the morning to review the construction of the new city with Shui Changgue. Lord, the construction of the outer city has basically been completed, and there are only some basic buildings left. Do you think we should continue to invite craftsmen to build it? Walking on the road, Shui Changgue said to Lin You, who was beside him. During this time, because Lin You invested a lot of resources, he invited many craftsmen to come in, which also accelerated a lot of progress. But relative. Lin Yu's mana is also consumed very fast, and now there are only tens of thousands left. He thought for a moment and said, it's not needed for the time being. The rest of the buildings will be handed over to the original craftsmen in the city to build slowly. Now the main thing is the placement of the population and the distribution of land. If you are more careful, I will leave it to you. Make arrangements. Okay, I'll take care of it. Shuechangue replied respectfully. Immediately afterwards, after talking about some issues about the planning of the new city, Lin You left with several arms around him. And just as he was on his way back, a reminder sounded in his mind. Congratulations, the Mad Banshee Qingting experience has reached the full value, and it meets the requirements for upgrading to the 8th order. The upgrade needs to consume 10 7th order territory essence. Do you want to upgrade? After so long of accumulation, Qingting's experience is finally full. Lin Yu's face was overjoyed. He chose to upgrade without thinking, and then hurried back to the territory. Across the distance, I saw Qingting's body was wrapped in a ray of light, and even the vines around it began to grow rapidly. But what surprised Lin Yu the most was Qingting's body. It actually exceeded the height of the Tree of Life, and a huge flower of blood bloomed on the top of the Tree of Life. Together with the surrounding forest of thorns, it also extended for nearly 800 meters, and then grew through the city wall into the yellow sand city, causing the nearby residents to exclaim. And the upgraded attributes of Qingting also caught Lin Yu's eyes. Name, Dread Banshee Ivy, Royal Family. Race, Plant, Hero. Level 8, 0/5000. Strength, 2200, plus 250. Physique, 2500, plus 250. Agility, 450, plus 250. Spirit, 2000, plus 250. Skills, Devour, Blood Poisonous Mist, Forest of Fear. Enemies in the Forest of Fear will be fearful, and their mental attributes will be reduced by an additional 10%, Bloody Frenzy. Gift of the Earth, 50% faster recovery from injuries. Introduction, one of the 3 branches of the Banshee, corruption, degeneration and fear, a terrifying plant born for war. Blood can greatly stimulate its potential. So strong. Lin Yu couldn't help but exclaimed, and even his pace gradually slowed down. The 8th order, Qingting has not only skyrocketed to more than 2,000 points, but also changed its skills. As long as you are within the forest range, the spirit attribute will be reduced by an additional 10%. That is to say, the entire 800-meter range of the enemy will be affected by it. The decrease in spirit, that is, the decrease in the power of the skill, and the fact that it will become easier to be controlled by the enchanting Banshee, this improvement is definitely huge for him. It can even be said without exaggeration. In the Forest of Fear, Qingting is of the same order. No one can shake its status. Excited, Lin Yu immediately accelerated and rushed back to the territory. Soon, he found other different places. Qingting's giant vines are darker and denser than before. Walking into the forest, you can hardly see the sun outside. It is very eerie and terrifying, and there is even a faint mist, which makes the whole forest dyed with a mysterious color. Not to mention the enemy, even he himself felt a little creepy. No wonder he lowered his spirits. All the way back to the territory to the body of Qingting, only to find that the Tree of Life is almost no longer able to hold the body of Qingting, and huge rhizomes extend all around. It is simply a behemoth. It seems that after the Wanjia battlefield passes, he has to upgrade his territory as soon as possible. Otherwise, he was a little worried that the Tree of Life would be crushed by the ivy. Thinking of this, Lin Yu clicked on the territory information and took a look. Territory name, Tree of Life. Territory level, 6th order, 523/500. Territory durability, 2000/2000, plus 2000. Recruiting troops, Plant Department. Number of recruits, 120/120. Territory introduction, the Lord's survival is fundamental, with various functions. The core of the territory is destroyed, and the Lord dies. Upgrade requirements, wood, 3000/3000, stone, 5534/3000, iron ore, 3309/1500, copper ore, 3147/1500, magic energy, 44720/5000, 6th order territorial essence, 26/10. Note, plants are territorial characteristics, and wood is self-supplied. That's right. At this time, his territory has already met all the conditions for upgrading to the 7th rank. It's just that he wasn't in a hurry to upgrade. After all, with his current strength, it's okay to deal with the general 7th order, and he still has no confidence in dealing with those old lords who have been upgraded to the 7th order for a long time. What's more, the battlefield of 10,000 realms is a place where heroes gather, not just one enemy. He is not arrogant, and with a single 8th tier unit, he can sweep through hundreds of lords in other realms, and then grab battlefield treasures from them. Not to mention grabbing the faith orb that appeared last. So he decided not to upgrade first, go to the 6th order battlefield to get a handful of resources and treasures, stabilize the foundation, and then go up to the 7th order. In this way, he will be more confident in the next 2 world wars. It's only half a month. Lin You muttered to himself, his eyes gradually deepened. Half a month later, I don't know how many people will die in the battlefield of 10,000 realms. Lin You, are you in the territory? Just as Lin You was checking Qingting's attributes, a shout suddenly sounded outside. Why is she here? Lin You raised his head suspiciously. Through the perception of the demon king dragon in the sky, I can see people outside the territory at once, isn't it Ji Yunshuang? Without thinking much, I immediately turned off the interface and hurriedly left the territory and went outside. As soon as he passed through the vine forest, he saw Ji Yunshuang in an armored robe standing there, with only a few angel troops with him. Why did you suddenly come to my territory? Lin You asked, strangely. The king's daughter is arrogant, and this kind of resource-consuming long-distance teleportation can be used as it is. Can't I come? Ji Yunshuang glanced at him. It's not because you haven't been to the main city recently, so I can only use my own resources to send it here. It seems to be the same. I have been busy developing my territory recently, and I don't have time to go to the main city. So you have something to do with me? Well, don't you have dwarfs here? My father gave me a piece of 9th order material recently, and I want to ask if you can make a dwarf like this? With that said, Ji Yunshuang took out an ice-blue tortoise shell from his personal space. Suddenly, the temperature of the whole surrounding dropped sharply, like flying snow in June, making Lin You shiver uncontrollably, and his pupils gradually enlarged. This is the tortoise shell of the 9th order black ice turtle. I want to use it to make a piece of armor. Your father is a king. Isn't there a 9th order craftsman in the territory? Lin You couldn't help asking. With the strength of Ji Xinghe to rule a country, not to mention that he can recruit 10th order craftsmen, at least there should be 9th order craftsmen under his hands. There is indeed one, but he is now building things for the 9th order lords under my father, and it will take a long time. Ji Yunshuang pursed her lips. She didn't want to forcibly cut the line by virtue of her status as the king's daughter, so she was a little too pampered and arrogant. And I heard that the forging skills of the dwarves are much better than the human craftsmen. If they can be asked for help, it would be better. Of course, she didn't hold out much hope. After all, Lin You is a 6th order lord, and it seems not easy to invite a 9th order dwarf craftsman to serve him, so he just came here to try his luck. But the next second, Lin Yu's words surprised her. I can build this, but it will take some time. Can it be created? Ji Yunshuang's eyes widened. It should be possible, but let me state first, that guy is generally not easy to help people build, and it is not up to me to say whether he will help. It's okay, just take me to see him, I have a way to ask him for help. Are you sure? Lin You was stunned. Sure. Ji Yunshuang's mouth showed a hint of slyness. Okay, you wait here first, I'll go back and get something to go with you. It is good. After saying that, Lin You turned around and walked into the vine forest behind him and disappeared. It was also at this time that Ji Yunshuang didn't notice the forest surrounding the tree of life in front of him, with a puzzled look on his face. This forest seems bigger than before? If she remembered correctly, it seemed that it only had a range of 500 meters before, right? Now it looks like there are more than 500, and the vines seem to have become more numerous. Could it be that? Suddenly, she thought of something. He suddenly looked at the ivy body surrounding the tree of life in the distance, and the flower of blood blooming at the top of the tree of life. 8th grade. Lin You, this unit, has actually risen to the 8th rank. No wonder she always felt that something was wrong when she first arrived here, but now she finally reacted, and there was a little bit of shock in her heart. She has cooperated with Lin You to fight several times, and she is naturally very familiar with Qingting. At the 7th rank, being able to compete against the 8th rank on his own is terrifying. Now that it has risen to the 8th level, is it still worth it? What's wrong? I'm in a daze here. At this time, Lin Yu's voice sounded again, and he had finished taking his things and went outside. Ji Yunshuang retracted his gaze and looked at him. Lin You, when did your unit reach the 8th rank? Oh, you said Qingting, just before you came. So fast? Ji Yunshuang was surprised. He remembered that Lin You had only arrived in the primitive continent for just over 2 months. In such a short period of time, it was absolutely unimaginable for her to raise a unit to the 8th rank. This kind of thing is good for a 7th order lord, at least not so exaggerated. But Lin You is different, he is only rank 6 now. What kind of monsters did their great wild country recruit in this time? Fortunately, Lin You is a member of their principality. If other principalities know about this, I am afraid that the intestines will be regretful, right? Ji Yunshuang was both shocked and fortunate. He also left the territory with Lin You and rushed to the mountains outside Huangsha City. Unexpectedly, what shocked her even more was still to come. When she followed Lin You through Huangsha City into the mountains, and came to the cave where the dwarves lived, she was stunned by the scene in front of her. Because what appeared in front of her eyes was actually a whole huge dwarf tribe. How can that be? Didn't it say that the dwarfs never liked to interact with people? What's up with the dwarfs here? This made Ji Yunshuang unimaginable. She always thought. In Lin Yu's territory, there are only those dwarves that he saw in the blacksmith shop. Now she found that she was wrong, and very wrong. Looking at the crisscrossing cave passages in front of her, and the dwarfs coming and going, she even thought she had gone to the wrong place and came to a dwarf kingdom. When she regained consciousness, she followed Lin You to a huge karst cave in the deepest part of the cave, and there was a constant thumping sound in her ears. Magnan, I'm here to see you, Lin You shouted towards the inside. Lin You? Why are you here? Did you bring me food? McGunn, who was instructing the forging techniques of the tribe, turned his head and looked at him. But right away, McGann noticed Ji Yunshuang beside Lin You with a look of surprise. Lin You, when did you get married? Why didn't you inform me? Cough cough. Lin You coughed violently, and was almost choked by McGann's sudden words. He glanced at Ji Yunshuang, who had an unnatural expression on the side, and said, Don't talk nonsense. She just came to my territory as a guest. Oh, isn't it? McGunn looked at Ji Yunshuang again, with a suspicious look on his face. However, the thoughts of their dwarfs were not so convoluted, and they asked directly, Then why did you come to me? I am very busy now, and I will have to teach the clan to forge later. It's not that I am looking for you, it is she who is looking for you. She wants to ask you to help build a piece of equipment. Lin You pointed to Ji Yunshuang beside him. She? McGunn looked at Ji Yunshuang again, frowning. You should know that apart from you, I generally don't help people build things. This is the pride of our dwarves. Indeed, as the king of the Warhammer clan, he represents the highest glory of the entire clan. How could he casually help people build things? It is because of Lin Yu's special status that he will help Lin You unconditionally. For others, nothing to talk about. Can't you be accommodating? I can pay you. Even without Lin Yu's introduction, Ji Yunshuang could feel the extraordinariness of McGunn, and immediately determined that he was the dwarf who could help him build equipment. Without thinking much, I quickly took out something from my personal space. McGann was about to refuse, but was attracted by what she brought out. He sniffed lightly with his nose, and his eyes suddenly straightened. "This is elf flower brew?" His eyes widened, and he stared straight at a wine jar that Ji Yunchuang took out. Even the eyes of other dwarves on the side were attracted. "Yes, it's elf flower brew." Ji Yunchuang showed a charming smile. "My father went to the elf forest to ask for it. How about it? Can you help me build a piece of equipment for this reward? Make a deal." McGann snatched the wine jar from Ji Yunchuang's hand, as if he was afraid that she would take it back. "Lin You? Where's your dwarf pride? Where's your tribal glory? Just bought by a jar of wine?" As if noticing Lin Yu's strange expression, McGann said with a blushing face, "You know the shit. Elf flower brew is a good thing. I went to ask for it for a long time and couldn't get it. Is this thing really that good? It's just a jar of wine." Lin You couldn't help but complain. "This is no ordinary wine. Forget it, you don't understand it." McGann ignored Lin You and sniffed while holding the wine jar. That cautious appearance was completely different from the previous one. At this time, Ji Yunchuan on the side also explained, "The elf flower brew is brewed by the elf family with hundreds of flower dew. It has a very good effect on strengthening the body, and it can be called the world's delicious food. My father also spent a lot of money. Only a small amount of resources is exchanged from them. Little girl is right, this thing is a good baby." McGonagall fondly touched the wine jar in his hand, and did not reject Ji Yunchuang like he did just now. After putting away the wine jar, he asked, "What do you want to make? Take it out and see." "That's it, do you think it can be built?" Ji Yunchuang hurriedly took out the tortoise shell, just now. Seeing the tortoise shell, McGann's eyes suddenly lit up, and he took it directly and looked at it carefully. "This material is good. It's the most suitable for making breastplates. Come and get it in 5 days. Really?" Ji Yunchuang's face was overjoyed. "That's good, I'll come and pick it up when the time comes." "You don't need to be so troublesome, I'll contact you to send it to the main city after it's built." Lin You interjected. "This is what you said, don't forget it then." Ji Yunchuang said with a smile. "Don't worry, do you think I look like the kind of untrustworthy person?" "Like?" Ji Yunchuang put on a serious face. "The first time I met you, I stole my resources. Who knows if you will swallow my equipment?" Well, he really couldn't refute this big hat, not to mention how embarrassed his expression was. And Ji Yunchuang saw his speechless and deflated appearance, and his eyes gradually turned into crescents. Feng Shui took turns, and at last she prevailed. "I don't know why, but I feel very happy in my heart, and there is a little bit of pride. Probably because she was the one who shrunk before. That's all." The two said goodbye to McGann and left the mountains to return to Huangsha City. Then he wandered around the city with Lin You, and Ji Yunchuang teleported back to his territory, waiting for the equipment to be successfully built. Half a month. It's not long, it's not short. Just when Lin You was developing his territory and training troops. The day of the opening of the battlefield finally arrived as promised, the night before the opening of the battlefield. At this time, the entire chat channel was full of constantly passing messages, which was much more lively than usual. "Brothers, tomorrow is the day when the Battle of 10,000 Worlds begins. Are you all ready?" Needless to say, it's already ready, just wait for the collective delivery tomorrow. It's stable. I upgraded 2 more 7th Order arms yesterday, and I have to kill other realms. It's the same for me. Last time I only brought 5 7th Orders there, and I almost died there. This time there are 30 7th Orders, and I feel that I will dominate the battlefield. That's right. This time, we must kill other realms and take back the lost luck. Come on. Brothers. It's done. Since the last deprivation of luck, the lords of the primitive realm have all held their breath, waiting for the battlefield to open to take revenge. The High Lords did not speak, But one by one, they worked hard to improve their strength and cultivate more powerful arms in the past 3 months. Certainly. Among them, there are also many new lords who have just arrived in the primitive continent. After learning the specific situation of the battlefield of 10,000 realms from the old lord, everyone became nervous, and there was a lot of discussion on the channel. This reminded Lin You of the time when he first arrived here. The same is true, and he was sent to the battlefield of Wanjia with a confused look. Fortunately, I was lucky, and I was assigned a relatively weak battlefield. There were only 30 or 40 7th Order lords at most. Otherwise, it was hard to say whether they could come back. If these new lords want to survive, it is estimated that they can only pray that they will not be assigned to the battlefields where the great gods are everywhere. Thinking of this, Lin You turned off the interface, called Lingxi, who was playing with other plants in the territory, to his side, and looked at its experience bar. Level 7, 2498/2500. That's right. After experiencing the experience in the main city some time ago, Lingxi should have needed more than 3 months to get full experience. At this time it is close to full, only 2 points away. That's why he didn't go to rest immediately. After waiting in the territory for 2 hours, a reminder finally sounded in his mind. Congratulations, the fairy envoy Lingxi's experience has reached the full value and meets the requirements for upgrading to the 8th order. Do you want to upgrade? Upgrade. Lin You took a deep breath and replied directly. He worked so hard to collect the essence of the 7th order territory, isn't it just for this moment? I saw that the moment his voice fell, Lingxi's body was wrapped in a ray of light. Originally there was only one bodyguard fairy, but it gradually split into 2, flying around Lingxi constantly. And the attributes of Lingxi have also undergone earth-shaking changes. Name, Fairy Sage Lingxi, Royal Family. Race, Plant, Hero. Level 8, 0/5000. Strength, 1800 plus 250. Physique, 1800 plus 250. Agility, 2300 plus 250. Spirit, 2500 plus 250. Skills, Natural Control, Advanced, Affinity Aura, additional 10% recovery speed of the force of nature, Thorns Coiling, Power of Dominance, increase the number of summoned tree demons to 2, and inherit the level of the body. Nature Messenger, the power of natural spells is increased by 20%. Introduction, the royal family of goblins has a strong affinity for nature, is good at manipulating and summoning plants, and greatly enhances the strength of surrounding plants. Lingxi, who has risen to the 8th rank, can be said to have achieved a qualitative leap in strength. Especially the 2 skills of Affinity Aura and Dominance. Even like Ivy, it has gained additional effects. Needless to say, the recovery speed of the 10% force of nature is definitely a great improvement for the plant system. After all, this means their proliferation and division, the frequency of using skills, and the increase in stamina. The power of is even more exaggerated. The summoned tree demons directly become 2, which is equal to the number of bodyguard fairies around Lingxi, and they will inherit the level of Lingxi. In other words, he is now equivalent to having 4 tier 8 arms. If this is spread out, I am afraid it will shock the jaws of all 6th order lords. The most important is, the attributes of royal arms are obviously much higher than ordinary 8th order arms, and they have been transformed into exclusive skills for heroes to comprehend, and they are far superior to arms of the same rank. Plus the attributes of the 7th order armored moss are added. It can almost be said to have reached an extremely terrifying level. Now, just wait until noon tomorrow. Lin You whispered silently. For this day, he has made so much preparation and spent so much energy, and it is time to collect interest. Thinking of this, he turned to leave and went back to the treehouse to rest. Soon. The night passed. When the sun gradually rose to the highest point, a few familiar reminders finally sounded in the minds of all the lords. Lords, please note that the battlefield of 10,000 worlds is open and will be teleported soon. Please be prepared. During the opening of the battlefield of 10,000 worlds, your territory and affiliated territories will be protected from being destroyed by external forces. At that time, all the lords will be forced to be teleported to the battlefield of 10,000 realms for 3 days. In the battlefield, you will encounter enemies from all races in the world, as well as various treasures and territorial resources. Slay the enemy bravely and try to survive on the battlefield. It's coming, it's finally going to be teleported. I'm so nervous, I don't know which battlefield will be assigned this time. I hope not to be assigned with those perverts who have reached the 7th rank. Brothers, see you in 3 days. In the tense discussion of the lords, beams of light rose into the sky and appeared in every corner of the primitive continent. The grand and magnificent scene suddenly made all the aborigines who were not lords stop what they were doing and looked up at the sky. In Huangsha City, Shui Changgue and Wei Gang, who were talking about things, came outside and looked at the Tree of Life, which was gradually wrapped in a beam of light, with worried expressions. It's time for the Battle of 10,000 Realms to open again. I hope that the Lord will not encounter any danger. Hope so. After saying that, the two watched the grand scene in the air for a while, then turned around and returned to the hall. The lords are all fighting for their lives for the mainland, so naturally they can't slack off. They must take care of the affairs of Huangsha City when Lin You is away, and must not hold him back. And right now, the beam of light that enveloped the Tree of Life and Huangsha City suddenly lit up. Swish! Including Qingting's huge body, the troops in Lin Yu's territory disappeared instantly and followed him to the battlefield of Wanjia. After a familiar sense of weightlessness, he came to a vast and boundless battlefield. Dear Lord, you have successfully arrived at the 6th Order Wanjia battlefield, number 0000001. The battlefield will last for 3 days. Here you will encounter enemies from all walks of life. Please pay attention to safety. During the opening of the battlefield, all lords' magical energy will be initialized. Each time a lord is killed, 1,000 points of basic magical energy will be obtained, and the accumulated magical energy of the lord will be obtained at the same time. The battlefield kill list is opened, and the number of kills and magic energy of each lord is recorded from time to time, and they are ranked separately. Battlefield 1? Lin You was stunned. I didn't expect that I was so lucky and was assigned to the number 1 battlefield known as the Death Zone. During this time, he had listened to the discussions of the lords. It was said that many of those who were sent into battlefield number 1 were enchanting geniuses from all walks of life. All of them were either full of the 7th rank arms, or extremely powerful arms, and there were at least nearly 100 of them. Definitely a newbie's nightmare. As long as it is a rookie lord who is transported into this battlefield, it can almost be said that it is a near death, and few people can come back alive. It seems that the system will randomly assign them according to the strength of the lord. Interesting. The corners of Lin Yu's mouth rose slightly. Genius? He kills geniuses. The more talented a person is, the stronger the luck on his shoulders. Isn't this what he wants? At least it's time to let other realms taste the taste of being deprived of luck. After thinking about it, Lin You looked at the huge ivy beside him, and there were nearly 400 7th Order troops in the vine forest. Then I heard another reminder that I had never heard before. Lords of the number 1 battlefield, please note that the battlefield mission, The Origin of the Plague, is now open. During the opening of the mission, the deadly plague around the battlefield will be reduced by half every other day. Those who find and kill the source of the plague within 3 days can get extra generous rewards. Please be careful. Okay? Battlefield mission? What? Lin You looked around in astonishment. Only then did he realize that he was on the edge of a surging purple-green poisonous fog area. Is this the deadly plague mentioned in the tip just now? Out of curiosity, he immediately called the 7th Order Wither Banshee next to him and gave it an attack order. Whoosh! With a bang, a vine rushed out of the forest and rushed straight into the poisonous fog. In the next second, the vines quickly festered and turned into pools of thick water. The poisonous mist even spread along the vines towards the body of the Wither Banshee. Lin You was shocked and hurriedly shouted to Lingxi beside him. Quick! Cut off its vines. Immediately after that, there was another burst of air, and a leaf shot out, cutting the vines of the wither banshee. The poisonous gas-contaminated vines fell to the ground, making a sizzling sound, and corroded into a big pit in a blink of an eye. This? Lin Yu's eyes widened in shock. The 7th-tier troops couldn't support even a second in this plague-poisonous fog, so wouldn't he be a dead end? How dare you stay here? Immediately take the plants away from the edge of the battlefield and rush towards the central area. After all, the reminder said that the poisonous fog would shrink by half every other day. He didn't want to die inside if he didn't earn the resources. You still have to go to a safer place first, and by the way, look for the so-called source of the plague, and maybe you can get a good reward. That's all. One person with 400 plants walked mightily on the vast battlefield, and began to look for prey in other realms. At the same time, inside a valley on the battlefield, several lords with dozens or hundreds of 7th-order arms gathered together and looked around with ruthless expressions. Very good. This time we have so many lords in the illusory demon realm teleported together, we must kill all the lords in other realms. On the other side of the plain is also gathering the lords of the lizard people, spitting out human words. It's good luck, I met the same clan so soon, let's go. It's time for those humans to see the strength of our calamity realm. On a towering mountain peak, a lonely figure surrounded by goshawks stood there, looking down at the land below. Battlefield 1? Interesting. When the sound fell, he mounted his troops and swept straight to the bottom of the mountain. In just a few minutes, countless powerful lords gathered on the battlefield. A battle, ready to go. Quick! That lunatic is coming after him. Let's run away. In a corner on the edge of the battlefield, 2 figures fled in panic, running on the plain. The strength of these 2 lords is not weak. Everyone has at least 30 or 40 7th-order troops with them. But at this time it was like a mouse that encountered a cat, desperately running away, panic and anxiety written on his face, as if they encountered something that scared them. It's so unlucky, I just came across this kind of pervert of the 7th order, he didn't chase after him, right? One of the beast-type lords turned back while running away, not daring to slow down his steps at all. The same is true for the insect lord next to him, riding a 7th-order giant poisonous scorpion, constantly running on the rough ground. But the next second, the ground in front of their location suddenly exploded with a boom, and huge 7th-order mole crickets rushed out from the ground, blocking their way. No, it's that pervert, go back. The 2 shouted in shock, their faces changed wildly, and they hurriedly drove the troops around them to turn around and flee to the other side. It's useless, obediently hand over the magic energy on your body. A gloomy voice came from the cracked ground. An emaciated man appeared on the ground riding a mole cricket with an evil smile on the corner of his mouth, looking at the 2 fleeing as if he were looking at prey. Counting carefully, the 120 arms around him have all reached the 7th rank. The 2 fleeing were horrified. I didn't expect the other party to catch up so quickly. Just as they were about to speed up their escape, a large number of mole crickets immediately appeared in front of them, and the ground beneath their feet exploded. Mole cricket's 7th-order skill, Earth Collapse. In the blink of an eye, the entire ground collapsed, burying them and the large tracks of troops around them, causing countless casualties. Even they themselves were washed off their mounts by the sand, desperately resisting the sand and stone attacks from all directions. There is no ability to resist at all. Is this the strength of a full 7th-order arm lord? The 2 were terrified and at the same time very unwilling. I didn't expect myself to be so unlucky, not to mention being teleported into the number 1 battlefield known as the Death Zone, and encountering this kind of perversion from the very beginning. Seeing that there were more and more mole crickets surrounding them, and the number of troops around them continued to decrease, despair finally came to their hearts, and their faces were as pale as paper. And the cricket lord standing outside the pit was extremely comfortable, watching them continue to struggle. It's like killing someone else can bring him pleasure. But at this time, A rumbling vibration suddenly sounded in the distance, approaching quickly. What happened? The Cricket Lord was startled and looked in the direction of the voice. I saw a terrifying plant like a giant octopus moving fast on the battlefield of Yamapinquin. Wherever he went, the whole ground shook violently. There are countless strange plants surging on the side, and each plant exudes a formidable power far exceeding the ordinary seventh order. The number is so huge that it far exceeds the number of arms of the average sixth order lord. Not to mention the octopus-like behemoth. That extremely powerful sense of oppression, just by looking at it, made the Cricket Lord feel cold all over his body and was extremely horrified. 8th grade. This is definitely the existence of the 8th order. In the 6th order battlefield, how can there be such a terrifying existence? The Mole Cricket Lord looked terrified. How can I still have the heart to hunt other lords? I immediately shouted in shock. Quick! Come back! In an instant, all the crickets and crickets in the pit were summoned by him, and they fled without thinking, directly abandoning the 2 people who were buried in the pit. Okay? Far away. Lin You, who was sitting next to Qingting's body, snorted lightly, and also found Lord Mole Cricket, his eyes narrowed. Go, don't let him run away. The indifferent voice fell, and the Demon King Dragon and Demon Concubine Dragon in the sky suddenly accelerated, launching the swift shadow skill to swept towards the Cricket Lord. The Cricket Lord, who wanted to get into the ground and escape, just reacted, and suddenly there were several high-pitched dragon roars above his head. What? His face changed wildly, and he raised his head suddenly. He saw 4 plant dragons of different shapes circling rapidly above his head. In an instant, a gust of wind suddenly swept over him and all the troops around him, and swept them into the sky at once. At the same time, Qingting also came immediately. With a few swishing sounds, the huge vines rushed out suddenly, rushing into the apocalyptic scene. What? A shrill scream, accompanied by a cloud of blood mist, exploded in the gust of wind. A reminder sounded in Lin Yu's mind. Kill the 6th order lord of the alien plane, get 8,000 magic energy, the 6th order territory essence X1. Good guy. The battlefield has only been open for less than 20 minutes, and so much magic energy has accumulated. This lord is afraid that he has killed a lot of people. Lin Yu was too lazy to look at the other's stump and broken arm, and said directly to Qingting beside him, let's go, move on. As if doing something trivial, Qingting moved again, directly across the messy land, and continued to rush to the depths of the battlefield to find other prey. Until they left. In a dirt pit on the side, there was a sudden crash sound, and 2 gray-faced heads appeared, with doubts written on their faces. What's the matter? Why didn't that guy suddenly attack? The Scorpion Lord looked around with vigilance and surprise. I don't know, the attack suddenly stopped, did you leave? The Beast Lord was also very surprised and looked aside curiously. However, in the next second, their eyes were all shocked, looking at the pile of broken corpses in the distance, and the blood on the ground. This, looks like that guy's corpse. Hey! It seems to be true. How can it be? The pupils of the 2 suddenly shrank to the extreme, and a storm surged in their hearts. A lord with a full 7th rank. Just die? To know. It's only a few minutes before and after. Who is so terrifying to be able to kill such a powerful lord in such a short period of time? This is too exaggerated. In Battlefield number 1, there are such monsters. Under the panic, How Dare to Stay immediately climbed out of the pit, summoned the remaining troops, and hurriedly escaped from here. In a blink of an eye, there was only a mess of corpses and a huge pit, as if to declare that someone had fought here. The other side. Lin Yu, who had been far away, didn't know that he had missed 2 heads. At this time, he was sitting on a chair woven with vines, checking the ranking information of this battlefield. It surprised him very much. This time the battlefield list will not only list the kill rankings, but also add a magic energy list to rank the magic energy that the lords carry with them. And just now, because he had obtained a lot of magical energy, he was directly ranked within 1,000, and even the number of magical energy in the first place was only less than 20,000. Of course, that doesn't mean anything. After all, the battlefield has just opened, and many lords have not yet started. After that, more and more people will definitely come out and start hunting other lords. Especially when battlefield treasures appear, that is the beginning of the killing. Count the time, it should be coming soon, right? Lin You murmured silently. Turn off the list and look to the sky. As if in response to his words, several beams of light suddenly descended from the sky and landed on every corner of the battlefield. At the same time, a prompt sounded in the minds of all the lords. Lords, please note that treasures on the battlefield appear and are randomly refreshed in every corner of the battlefield. Boom! There were several violent explosions, and the entire battlefield ground trembled slightly. Lin You looked around and found that the beams of light all appeared in the outer area of the battlefield, and seemed to form a circle around the central area. And just like what he encountered on the battlefield last time, there are a total of 9 treasures, which are very far apart. It seems that it is impossible to grab several treasures at once. After thinking about it, Lin You looked at one of the beams of light closest to him, and rushed over with the plants. And this time, outside of a basin not far from here, a lord hurriedly ran on the rough, gravel ground, staring at the beam of light in the distant basin, feeling extremely excited. It's a godsend for me to land so close to me, hurry up. Be sure to take the treasure away, before the other lords. Saying that, he shouted again. The skeleton hound under him suddenly accelerated and rushed into the basin. At the same time, guided by the beam of light, more and more lords continued to gather from all directions with their troops, and soon came to the outside of the basin. At a glance, they saw the skeleton lord who was rapidly approaching the beam of light. Not good. Someone is a step ahead, stop him. Put down the treasure. Forgive you not to die. With a scream of anger, a large number of lords poured into the basin and surrounded the skeleton lord. And the skeleton lord also relied on the advantages of small and fast arms, rushed to the beam of light, grabbed a token exuding silver light in the beam, and then turned around and fled. That's arms token. It's really a token of arms. Never let him run away. Want to escape? Leave something behind. Follow me. The lords who rushed over saw the arms tokens held by the skeleton lords at a glance, and all of them suddenly turned ugly, and there was a strong desire. After all, after arriving on the mainland, it is extremely difficult to obtain arms. Basically, if each lord has no adventures, there are at most 5 types in the territory. One more arm is equivalent to one more means, and it is possible to obtain a more powerful arm. How can they not go crazy? So after seeing that the token was taken into the personal space by the skeleton lord, one by one immediately gave orders to the troops around him. In an instant, the attack from the sky appeared, turned into countless streamers in the air, and attacked the fleeing skeleton lord. Dead bone shield. Just listen to the skeleton lord shout. The skeleton hounds beside him suddenly let out a roar. One by one bones floated behind them, forming a thick bone shield, directly meeting the incoming attacks. Boom! Crack! There was a violent explosion, accompanied by a burst of cracking sound. In just one face-to-face, the bone shield condensed by dozens of 7th-order arms was completely shattered, and together with a few slow-running skeleton hounds, they were all overwhelmed by the remaining attacks and died on the spot. However, the skeleton lord also took this opportunity to rush out of the encirclement, ran to the outside of the basin, and then turned back and laughed arrogantly. What? The face of the undead lord who was laughing suddenly changed. He didn't expect someone to appear in the direction of his escape. Turning back, he saw terrifying giant vines spreading towards him, and even the sky was full of giant plant dragons. The huge scene suddenly shocked him, and he retreated in panic. Even the lords who were chasing them stopped, with a look of astonishment. My God! What monster is that? What a big plant! This is a military type? How can it be? At this moment, let alone chasing, they even forgot to think. One by one, they raised their heads and looked at the vine forests that were rapidly emerging on the edge of the basin, and the plants and troops scattered all over the mountains. Their eyes widened to the extreme. However, what shocked them even more was the twisted plant in the middle of the vine forest. Sitting alone. Just staring at them so condescendingly, his eyes are indifferent. What? At this moment, a shrill scream came from the vine forest. All the lords trembled, and their expressions changed drastically. This scream, it was the undead lord who sent it just now. The lord with dozens of seventh-order arms was instantly killed without even being able to resist. Fear instantly spread in the hearts of all the lords. Strange, monster, run away. Finally, one of the lords shouted in surprise, turned around and fled with his own troops. This time, the other lords also woke up one after another, and a few more lords fled the scene when they saw that the situation was not good. But most of the remaining people are still staring at the moving beam of light in the vine forest. In the end, the greed for the treasure overcomes the fear in the heart. Immediately someone stood up and shouted, "Don't be afraid, everyone. He's just one person. With so many of us, are we afraid that he won't succeed? That's right. Come on together and grab the token in his hand." Indeed, there are at least hundreds of lords present. And there are more or less dozens of seventh-order arms around everyone, adding up to several thousand. Although that giant plant is terrifying, can it be possible to deal with so many of them at once? So soon, they reacted and issued attack orders to their own units. For a time, countless troops turned into a torrent and rushed to the vine forest, surrounded by green vines from all directions. The dense long-range attacks are flying all over the sky, focusing directly on the ivy. However, everyone was horrified. When their attack crashed down and exploded around the vine forest, the vines that were blown up actually grew at a speed that was impressive to the naked eye, and returned to their original appearance in a blink of an eye. How can it be? The surrounding lords couldn't help exclaiming. Under the concentrated fire of thousands of seventh-order arms, he was actually unscathed. Such a monster. How can it appear on the sixth-order battlefield? Unfortunately, Lin You didn't intend to give them a chance to think too much. After scanning the circle and not finding the lord of the primitive realm, he directly issued an order to the plants. All killed. In an instant, a giant vine suddenly rushed out and attacked the surrounding troops. The other plants, led by the ancient war tree, left the forest and started the war to trample on the enemy line. On the back of the demon king dragon in the sky, a lot of mushrooms were thrown down, and they landed in the most densely populated place. Boom boom dash. A series of violent explosions shook the entire ground, and instantly blew up the troops that rushed up. Those troops that were in the range of the mushroom demon king mushroom explosion were even more chaotic, and they fought each other on the spot. Roar. At this moment, a terrifying roar sounded. Two huge eighth-order tree demons appeared on the edge of the vine forest, frantically swayed the twisted rhizomes on their bodies, and penetrated the bodies of each soldier. There was no enemy at all. But the most terrifying thing is the ivy. Basically every time it takes a shot, hundreds of troops will die under its vines, dyeing the entire vine forest red, and there are broken limbs everywhere, like a purgatory on earth. Even worse. After those troops die, they will regenerate into a flower of death and join the battle. All at once, the whole battle process was one-sided, and a large number of troops fell under their gnawing, which also made those lords tremble. Everyone's faces were full of horror and panic. Escape. It was their only thought at this time. After seeing Lin Yu's horror, how could they dare to have the slightest chance, turned around and fled, not even caring about the troops. However, how could Lin You let the duck with its mouth fly? As soon as his mind moved, Qingting, who had already sucked enough blood and quickly broke thousands, suddenly moved and chased the lords. Several lords who were too late to escape were instantly pierced by a few vines that rushed out of the ground and died on the spot. Kill the sixth-order lord of the alien plane, get 3000 magic energy, the sixth-order territory essence X1. Kill the sixth-order lord of the alien plane, get 2000 magic energy, the 6th Order Territory Essence X1. Kill. A series of prompts sounded in Lin Yu's mind. In the blink of an eye, his magical energy has accumulated to more than 20,000, and it is still increasing rapidly, and lords continue to die under the vines of green vines, until more than 10 minutes later. All the lords in the basin were finally solved by him, and only a few in the periphery escaped by chance. This is the horror of frenzy. It can increase Qingting's agility from only 700 to more than 1,000. How could an ordinary 7th Order run out of it? Okay, come back. Seeing that all the lords were dead, Lin You recalled the plants to the vine forest. After checking the battle damage and letting the elves perform group therapy, they took out the token they had just obtained. Arms token, werewolf, humanoid. Arms level, 6th Order. Introduction. After use, you can unlock a humanoid werewolf unit, which can be dropped. It is a pity. It's just a common weapon token, and it's not plant-based. This may be very precious to other lords, but it is of little use to him. Forget it, take it and exchange it for resources later. Werewolf is a unit that is closer to human form, and its combat ability is still very good. There will definitely be many humanoid lords who want it. Not to mention those who have a soft spot for such things. I'm afraid they will break their heads. At that time, it is a good choice to get the main city, to set up a stall, or to hang on the exchange. Thinking of this, Lin You put away the token, and then continued to rush in the direction of another beam of light with the plants, ready to try and see if he could grab another treasure before the frenzy of the ivy disappeared. A one-sided melee, here is a temporary end. What Lin You didn't know was that not long after he left the basin, an uproar suddenly broke out in the entire battlefield. Not for anything else, but because of the changes in the list. Killing list. First place, Lin You, Original World, kills 101. Second place, Lovis, Magic World, kill 20. Third place, Wu Zhongming, Rakshasa World, killed 19 enemies. Fourth place, Tang Luqing, Skylight Realm, kills 19. Magic Energy List. First place, Lin You, Primitive World, Magic Energy 154000. Second place, Lovis, Magic World, Magic Energy 32,000. Third place, Shiring, Secret World, Magic Energy 30,000. Fourth place, Wu Zhongming, Rakshasa World, Magic Energy 29,000. That's right. The first place on both lists is Lin You. And it is 5 times ahead of other realm lords. Not to mention those less powerful lords, even those lords who claim to be geniuses in all fields were alarmed by the sudden change in the list, and their expressions became solemn. You know, it has only been an hour since the battlefield opened. Killed hundreds of lords in such a short period of time? Just outrageous. This is the first battlefield. Except for a small number of unlucky new lords, almost all of them are top-notch in the 6th Order, or at least there are more than 50 7th Order arms. In this way, being able to be killed so much in such a short period of time is not just described as tough, but perverted. Metamorphosis, to the extreme. This guy named Lin You is not easy. In a certain forest on the battlefield, a young man who was standing on top of a pile of corpses, covered in beams of light, muttered to himself. Primitive realm? I've been to battlefield number 1 several times. How come I've never heard of such a powerful lord in this realm? On a mountain on the other side, a man holding a scroll was also surprised, looking at the list in front of him. Humph. The mere humans also want to steal our limelight. Go, find out where this Lin You is immediately, and you must grab his resources. In the waters very close to the edge of the battlefield, several Sea Clan lords said with grim faces and big mouths full of fangs. The words were full of disdain. But no matter how they react, they have to admit it. They have subtly regarded Lin You as their biggest threat in this battlefield. Certainly. There are also many who don't believe how strong Lin You is, and only when he uses some special means to kill other lords will he be on the list. So soon, many people began to search for Lin Yu's whereabouts, wanting to seize the huge resources in his hands. In this way, with the help of the rankings, the news spread more and more widely. In a blink of an eye, all the lords in the entire battlefield knew Lin Yu's name, as well as the original world's name. And this time, inside a cave in the corner of the battlefield, the two embarrassed lords were hiding there, looking at the list with excitement. Luolei, do you think the number 1 on this list is really from our primitive world? It shouldn't be wrong, the list can't go wrong. Luolei took a deep breath, his trembling eyes fixed on the name at the top of the list. Lin You. The person he knew in the area was also called Lin You. I don't know if it's the same person? Recalling all kinds of things in the area. That Lin You is also like now, a blockbuster, crushing all the lords below with an absolutely crushing attitude. Makes him feel like a world away, but on second thought, it seems unlikely. After all, the Lin You he knew had only been teleported for less than 4 months. In such a short period of time, how could it become so powerful, and even kill so many tier 6 lords? Probably just the same name. Thank you for watching Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share and subscribe. Have a great day.